So now I'm going to go on to a bit more information about how to actually apply for the call. So first up, just say that all of the documents are available on the website to download. So there's guidance for applicants, which has a bit more detail about some of the things I'll be going on to discuss. There's the research priority report that Joe's already covered. There's the application and the budget form, which you'll need to complete and submit. And there's also a template award letter, which just sets out the terms and conditions you'll need to agree to if your application is successful. So in terms of the application form, this is just a summary of the different areas you'll need to cover. So there'll be top line details about your project, information about the members of your research team, a lay summary of your project, and also a description of your research proposal. And I won't spend too long going over each of these sections at the moment, but just to highlight that where possible, the whole application form should be written in clear and kind of jargon-free language. But particularly the lay summary and young people's involvement section, as these are the sections which will be reviewed by our youth advisory group as part of the decision process. So moving on now into what the funding can cover, and this largely follows ESRC's standard funding rules, which you can find on their website, or get in touch with us if you want some more information. So there's a few different terms here which are used quite widely within academia but may not be familiar to everyone. So the first one here is that within higher education institutions we can cover investigator staff costs, and these can be directly allocated. So that's staff who are fully funded already, and this will be based on an estimate of their time on the project. And we can also cover directly incurred staff costs, so this is staff who will be directly employed by the project. And this, we can also cover the associated indirect and estates costs for the organisation. In terms of non-academic organisations, here again we can cover investigator staff costs and the overheads associated with that. Just flag in terms of the staff costs, we do have research assistant time available in addition to funding, but if you did want to employ your own research staff on the project, that's fine as long as it's within the maximum funding amount of 30,000. Other costs we can cover, so costs to cover young people's participation, consultancy costs, and also more research related costs, so things like project planning and development, travel and subsistence, research expenses such as transcription fees or participant reimbursement, equipment and consumables. And there's more details about these in the guidance online. In terms of things we can't cover, so the funding can't be used to cover computer hardware, books and permanent resources, publication costs or conference registrations. And again, there's more details in the guidance on that. So in terms of working out your costing, so the total amount that Triumph can allocate to any project is £30,000. All projects should be costed at 100% of the full economic cost. So this is the actual cost it's going to take to deliver the project. This again is following ESRC's guidance. So Triumph will be able to cover 80% of the costs for academic organisations, so that's staff costs and research costs. But we can cover 100% of the direct costs from non-academic applicants. So just to give you an example of this, so here's a project where the full cost is £12,000. And as you can see, Triumph will cover 80% of the academic staff costs, 80% of the research expenses, and 100% of the non-academic staff costs. So Triumph will cover £10,000 of these costs, and the additional £2,000 will need to be met by the lead organisation. To help you in calculating this, if it's all looking a bit confusing, we have included a budget form. So when completing this, you'll just need to complete the first column here, which is the full economic cost of the project. So this is the actual cost at 100%, and it's split down by the academic costs and non-academic costs. The second column will automatically populate with the network contribution, whether that's 80% or 100%. And it's this number at the bottom right of the project total under the network contribution column, which needs to be less than £30,000. hopefully this is making sense. If not, please do get in touch and we can answer any questions around this. So yeah, just get in touch with us if you do have any questions about the funding. So in addition to funding, we're also offering up to 50 days or approximately 10 weeks of support from a research assistant per project. This could cover a range of different tasks, some of which are listed here and are also included in the guidance document. I won't go through them all now, but just say this is just some of the ideas we had about how you might want to use that time. If you have other things that you might want a research assistant to support with, please do get in touch if you have questions about that and want to check that that's within scope, because we can be quite flexible about this. So please do get in touch. We did just want to flag the research assistant will be based at the University of Glasgow, and we anticipate that the majority of support will be provided remotely. I think we're all getting used to that now, so hopefully you'll have some ideas of the sort of things that can be achieved remotely. Having said that, the network will cover the costs for 2 meetings, which is most likely going to be a setup meeting at the start of the project and then one towards the end to discuss the results and the next steps. You can include other meetings or workshops or travel for data collection, but these will need to be covered by the funding that you're applying for and justified in the application. And finally, in terms of research assistant time, you may need to be flexible on how this is used, just because the research assistant will be working across multiple projects. And while we will do our best to meet everyone's needs, there might need to be some flexibility there. To help us in allocating this time and meet the demands of each project as closely as possible, the budget form also includes this section for you to complete about research assistant time. So if you can fill in how much time you anticipate you might need each month, it might not be the same amount each month. You might need more intensive support for 1 or 2 months and then less during the rest of the project, and that's fine. But it's just to give us an idea for planning purposes. Also just say you're not bound by what's put into this section, so this can be changed later on if project timelines shift or you want to use that time slightly differently. It's just to give us an initial idea. So in terms of the application, things you'll need to submit to us is the completed application form and budget spreadsheet, and also CV for each applicant. Obviously, we said young people or youth organisations do need to be involved in the project team, and for them, if you feel it's not appropriate for them to submit a CV, they can just submit a summary of their interest in the research project and their involvement in it to date, if you think that's more appropriate. So all of these documents should be submitted by the 31st of July is the deadline for the call, and they can just be submitted by email to the Triumph team. So once you've submitted your application, all the applications will be reviewed by a review panel, which is going to be made up of researchers, policymakers, practitioners, and a representative for young people. And they'll also be reviewed by our youth advisory group that Christina mentioned earlier, which is made up of 16 young people aged 16 to 24. So there'll be a slightly different focus for each of these review groups. So young people will be looking specifically at the relevance of the project to young people and the appropriate inclusion of young people in the project proposal, but also in how the project will be delivered. Whereas the review panel will also be looking at things such as the feasibility of the project plan, the value for money, and also the potential for future development into larger scale projects. So we'll be reviewing these applications, and awards should be announced by the end of August. And then finally, in terms of support for developing your application, we've already mentioned some of the ways we can support in involving young people and developing a project team. But if you do have any other inquiries, please do get in touch by email. And as we've already mentioned, it's really helpful if you can use the relevant subject lines so we can direct queries to the right people. We'll also be adding a list of frequently asked questions from this session and any queries received by email. They'll be going on the website funding page, so please do keep an eye out for those. And then we're also planning some online sessions to provide individual support and feedback to project teams. We've set the dates for these in early June, as you can see on the slide just here, and I'll be posting more information about these sessions on the website later this week. These sessions will be a chance to discuss your proposal in a bit more detail with members of the Triumph management team, and also get some feedback from our youth advisors, so you can get that youth perspective on the project, but also about how you might be able to involve other young people in it. Just say there will be a limited number of spaces for these sessions, so please do get in touch early if you're interested in taking up this opportunity.